Hey folks, Eddie from Totally Wired Guitars here, and boy oh boy, wow, somehow 2025 is already coming to a close. I feel like this past year just friggin' flew by, and I cannot believe it's already December 31st, so I thought, why not end the year on this channel on a positive note, and people love their best of list, so I've got a best of 2025 list of my own here. I'm going to be covering my favorite offset related guitars and gear that I got my hands on here in 2025. They aren't guitars or gear that were necessarily new for 2025. They may have been new to me, from my favorite offsets at various price points to my favorite pickups, my favorite hardware, my favorite strings. And so we've got a lot of things to cover. So I'm going to do my best, even though I know my track record, definitely contradicts that, but I am going to do my best to kind of keep it short and sweet. And I will provide links if I have full reviews to the guitars that I mention, and definitely look out in the future, because there are a couple of these guitars that I no longer have here in the workshop that I have already filmed reviews for that are going to be coming out in 2026. So without further ado, starting off our list are my favorite offsets under $500, and I'm both surprised and not surprised that this spot is taken by the Squier Classic Vibe 60s Mustang. Mustangs, as I've mentioned before, definitely show up on my bench a lot less than its other offset siblings like the Jaguar and Jazzmaster. It's just not as common and popular of an offset guitar, even here in New York City. But every time I get one of these Classic Vibe Mustangs in to work on, I'm always pleasantly surprised. I've got a review of this one forthcoming in 2026 that's already filmed and just needs to be edited. But yeah, getting one of these in hand from the vantage point of getting one brand new, the fit and finish of this thing was overall like pretty excellent. It had fret sprout, just minor fret sprout like you will get even on much more expensive models. But the two things that I love most about this guitar and why I chose it over the Classic Vibe Jaguar and Jazzmaster for my favorite under $500 offset is the fact that, first, this comes with vintage style and vintage output Mustang pickups. The Jaguar, Jazzmaster Basics, for whatever reason, all of those come with super hot bridge pickups, usually in the 11 to 12K range. It is not my personal preference or my favorite kind of sound. It's pretty one-dimensional to me. And just, again, overly hot. I like to be able to dial in a nice clean tone when I play through my Fender Princeton or my Fender Deluxe Reverb. And so the fact that the Classic Vibe Mustang has vintage style Mustang pickups, I believe when I measured the brand new one that I got from Zounds out of the box, it had pickups that were around the 5.5 to 5.8K range, and that is directly in line with the kinds of readings that I was getting on, for example, the Mustangs that I've had in the shop from the actual 1960s. The second thing that I really love about the Classic Vibe Mustang, that I can't say the same for the Jazzmaster, Jaguar, and Bass 6, is that I was pleasantly surprised that the dynamic vibrato on the Classic Vibe Mustang can be dialed in to feel really, really good and actually feel stable. Now, I have definitely poo-pooed on this vibrato several times over the many years that I've been doing offset-specific work. And I feel like this past year, because I did deep dives into the Mustang on vintage Mustangs, on mid-tier Mustangs like the Vintera 2, and also a number of Japanese Mustangs, I feel like because I was neck deep in Mustang world this past year, I gained a finer understanding of how to set up the dynamic vibrato, and the one on the Classic Vibe Mustang is no different, really. The springs in it are actually much more like responsive and like malleable than even those on a Japanese unit, and that was frankly shocking to me. I feel like no amount of tinkering when it comes to the vibratos on the Jaguar and Jazzmaster, at least on these Squier Classic vibes, really gets you anywhere that's comparable to the more expensive, American vintage units, for example. Whereas this one here, I've been able to routinely dial these in to feel as good as the Ventera 2 vibratos, which for me and for other folks in the offset space, like Mark B, I feel like has done the most deep dives on them. Those Korean-made Mustang vibrato units are definitely the best that are out there, and I feel like this is just a few hairs away from being as good as those. Again, definitely look out for that review in the future, and I'm also going to be putting out a tutorial on how to specifically dial in the Classic Vibe Mustang vibrato for a floating operation, which is definitely my favorite way to set it up. It's just so responsive and so smooth and so different from the kind of vibratos on its other offset siblings. I've also just got to briefly mention, as an honorable mention for my favorite offset under $500, the Squier Classic Vibe Bass 6. Definitely check out my full review. I'll leave the link down below in the description. But yeah, I have been absolutely enamored with these this past year. I feel like I've regretted getting rid of a Bass 6 ever since I sold my old vintage modified Squier Bass 6 many years ago now. This year, I was able to source a number of these Bass 6s in parts. So I would have to buy like a loaded body and like a loaded neck separately from one another. But I ended up getting them for pretty darn cheap, and they are just fantastic and inspiring guitars / basses to play. So yeah, if you're curious about my in-depth thoughts on this model, definitely check out my review. And now let's go ahead and move on to the next category. So the next thing on my list here is my favorite offset under $1,000. And I know that technically this is a bit higher than $1,000, but you can get them as open boxes and used many times, very commonly for $1,000 or less. And my pick here is the Fender Ventera 2 70s competition Mustang. I feel like this list already is starting off very Mustang centric. Again, as I had mentioned before, I have been neck deep in Mustangs, and this limited edition Sherwood Green competition Mustang that I got here has quickly become one of my favorite new production guitars. Out of the box, the fit and finish on this thing was pretty good. Again, much like its other offset siblings in the Ventera 2 line, this one also unfortunately suffered from a bit of fret sprout, but that is unfortunately to be expected because you do not know how long these have been sitting in the box, in the warehouse, from wherever it is that you got them. But I just really love this model. I haven't yet swapped out anything on this guitar, and stock, even with its 56mm bridge, it just plays really great. As I had briefly mentioned before, the dynamic vibrato on the Ventera 2 Mustang is by far the best iteration of this vibrato. I haven't compared it to one of the American Special ones because unfortunately I haven't gotten my hands on one of those. Those supposedly fix a lot of the annoying issues that are, that correlate to the Mustang vibrato. But yeah, this one is just super smooth. I was able to dial it in for perfect floating operation. And seriously, it is just just shy of feeling as good as the 1966 vibrato on my vintage Mustang. The other thing that I really love, and I have got a full review of this forthcoming in 2026, but the neck on this is just heavenly. It's not too thick, it's not too slim, and it just plays really nicely. The vintage tall frets on here don't bother me. They are just a minuscule amount of difference from actual vintage size frets, which are my personal favorite. But yeah, from the aesthetics to the fact that this thing has actual contours on it, unlike the slab body on my vintage Mustangs, I just really love this model. So yeah, this one is my pick for my favorite offset under $1,000. Now, moving right along, I'm going to talk about my favorite offset under $1,500. And there's a lot of different offsets in this category, but I've got to hand it to Fender Japan here. I've had a number of these traditional 60s Jazzmasters come through over the past couple years, but this past year specifically. And these ones, even these FSR ones, like this Aztec gold on gold, which I also am going to have a review forthcoming because I recently serviced and modded the heck out of one of these things. They are just wonderful guitars. I mean, Fender Japan still to this day, in my personal opinion, are absolutely unrivaled when it comes to fit and finish, the fretwork, and just the overall quality of the components they put. They are very different from the old 90s and 2000s MIJ offsets, which came with less than stellar electronics. This came with really decent Jazzmaster pickups out of the box that I wouldn't think to necessarily change out right away. And you really just got to know where to shop to be able to get them for less than $1,500, because brand new, if you know which stores to shop from, these things had a street price of like $1,300, and they usually knock like 10%. The Japanese consumption tax, and then you were just basically charged like, you know, shipping and maybe a PayPal fee or something. And so that ends up coming below $1,500. But yeah, these came in like charcoal frost, sunburst, white. They came in desert sand. There are so many awesome colors, but the one thing that I just love is the fact that this is a 9.5 inch radius neck on this thing, but that said, it's got a nice full C kind of profile to it. They call it a U-shaped neck, but I think it's really just more of a full C with a bit more shoulder. It has vintage style frets. The rosewood on these things always looks nice and dark and just super rich. And yeah, again, the fit and finish on it is just fantastic. And so yeah, the Fender Japan traditional 60s Jazzmaster, all of the iterations of it, including the late 60s models, which I feel like probably I actually like a bit better. Those are the ones that come with the blocks and binding and the full-size CBS headstock neck. Those are my favorite offsets under $1,500. All right, moving on now to my favorite offsets under $2,000. I've still, to this day, I've got to give it to Fender Japan again for their Heritage 60s Jazzmaster. Pound for pound, this guitar is just, it's premium. It's basically like a 62 American Vintage reissue, or maybe even a 59 American Vintage reissue, but made in Japan. And with that comes the amazing craftsmanship that Fender Japan is known for. The stock pickups that came in this are among my favorite. It's also one of the quietest guitars that I've ever played. I really love the neck profile, and even the vibrato doesn't necessarily need to be changed out. I think out of the box, so long as you give this thing a good setup, it is one of the best offsets I'd say ever produced. And on top of it, it does have a nitro finish, which is pretty uncommon for guitars coming out of Fender Japan, unless you're going Fender Japan custom shop and all of that. So for less than $2,000, you just get so much quality that you really cannot find in any other guitar. Now, I did also give a glowing review, so I have to mention it, to the Fender limited edition Vintera 2 Road Worn 50s Jazzmaster. This guitar, when it came through the shop, and definitely check out my reviews for both of these. I'm gonna leave a link down in the description again, but this thing just really floored me. I just couldn't believe the overall feel and the look of this guitar. The fit and finish overall out of the box was really, really nice. The setup actually wasn't half bad, and the pickups in this actually sounded better to my ears than the standard Vintera 250s Jazzmaster. I do not know if that's just tolerances at play or if they put special pickups in this, but boy, for a nitro finish guitar that comes with a hard shell case and seriously looked, with regards to the aesthetics of this thing and also the feel of it, it was almost comparable to those custom shop journeyman Jazzmasters that I've had in the shop that are like, you know, anywhere between $4,500 to $6,000 and up. So the fact that Fender Mexico was able to produce such a guitar at less than $2,000 was an absolute shock for me and a very, very welcome surprise. And I hope they continue to produce these because they are fantastic. Definitely check out, again, my full review because I wasn't able to give it the top spot because there were a couple of caveats that I had that prevented it from taking, you know, the best Jazzmaster that's ever been produced under $2,000. But overall, yeah, I mean, if you can get one of these things, whether you can get one new or whether you can get one used, they are just wonderful, wonderful guitars. And I hope in 2026, maybe they will come out with more limited edition colors, maybe ones that are specific to different stores. That would be really awesome to see because it's such an awesome guitar. All right, moving right along, my favorite premium offsets, over $2,500. Still in 2025, no offset I feel like has been able to unseat the American Vintage 266. This one is my customized American Vintage 266. It's been refinished in charcoal frost metallic, and basically nothing that was under here is stock aside from the vibrato unit. But just as far as the body and neck is concerned, the thing that I really loved the most about the American Vintage 266 is that all of the ones that I have worked on that have come through the shop, not just this year, but even in years past since its release, have been on the lighter side. They are really nice and acoustically resonant and lively. The neck profile on this guitar is just heaven for me. It's not a slim neck by any means, but definitely slimmer than the American Vintage 65 and the American Original 60s. It's got almost a flatter kind of feel to the back of the neck as well, which is just, for me, just plays really fast and easy and just is a pleasure to actually chord and do like lead licks on. The overall fit and finish on the ones that I've had the pleasure of working on has been really, really good as well. And the price of these unfortunately went up this past year, but they did release a Sherwood Green one. For those of you who are fans of Sherwood Green, hopefully they come out again with more limited edition colors in 2026. But yeah, if you are in the market for a new premium Jazzmaster, one that's finished in nitro, has a really, really nice comfy neck, and you are into the blocks and binding aesthetic, you cannot do that much better than the American Vintage 2 1966 Jazzmaster. This is another one that I've got full reviews of, so definitely check out the link that I leave down in the description if you're curious to hear my more in-depth thoughts and demo of the American Vintage 2 1966. I'd say tied with that guitar, and it's been the same way for honestly since this guitar came out, but the Johnny Marr Jaguar. Again, this one here, I feel like I just can't not mod my guitars. So yeah, it doesn't officially come in this, you know, Comet Sparkle. That's what we were trying to do here. My friend Johnny, who owned this guitar prior to me and sold it to me, had tried to kind of replicate Johnny's Comet Sparkle finish. This one is more of a champagne gold kind of color, but I really dig it. But that aside, the Johnny Marr Jaguar, again, is just one of my favorite modern produced Jaguars. It's still got that vintage feel to it, particularly in the neck, which I think is the star of the show when it comes to the Johnny Marr Jaguar. It's got this oval C-shape mid-60s style neck, which is unlike any other neck that is being produced, in my opinion, by Fender these days. And it just has a number of really nice little details, such as, you know, the stay trem like collet and arm. It's got custom wound bare knuckle pickups, which are a bit more focused in their sound because they're not reverse wound, reverse polarity. And I do like, despite the fact that I always appreciate a traditionally configured Fender Jaguar, I do like the 4-way blade switch here, and I do like the additional options rather than just having a basic rhythm circuit, which again I really love. I do like the 2 bass cuts here, particularly with the series tone that's featured on this guitar. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I've done full reviews on a lot of these, so I've got a link down in the description for the full review on this model if you're curious to hear my more in-depth take on this particular guitar. And very recently, I also reviewed the Johnny Marr special limited edition model with the 3 lipstick pickups. And I would say that is basically neck and neck with this one. That one is really expensive. It's basically over $3,000 if you have to pay, you know, sales tax and shipping and all of that. But yeah, the neck on that, I was shocked when I compared the two of them back to back. The neck on the new one, which has a 9.5 inch radius, I usually prefer 7 1/4, as you've heard on this channel many times. But the neck on that one just felt so nice and so easy to play. And that was how it played out of the box. So that is a testament to the kind of quality and attention to detail that they've been doing on those newer models. They are hard to find, I think. I don't know if that's true. Supposedly the stores, all the stores only got 2, but I am seeing stores like Zounds, who had shipped me one for review, still get them in stock, and I think they replenish them. So I do not know if the the limited edition or rarity kind of deal with it is actually true, or it's meant to just make them sell because people fear that they'll miss out on them. But yeah, that one is also a fantastic guitar. So between the two Marrs and the AV266, those are my favorite offsets over $2,500. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you know that my personal preference for offsets are ones that are vintage spec, but I would be remiss if I didn't have a category for my favorite modern style offset, and that has definitely got to go to the Fender American Pro Classic Jaguar that came out just late this past year. I just got this in hand. I was in the middle of filming a demo for both this and the American Pro Classic Jazzmaster. But this one kind of edges out the Jazzmaster by a little bit because I personally like Jaguars better than Jazzmasters. Yeah, the feel of this guitar, I as compared to the original American Pro Jaguar, is better. I just really, really like this neck profile. It's got more of a satin kind of amber tint to it, unlike the original American Pro. The maple neck version of the American Pro was really, really pale. And yeah, there's a lot to love about this guitar. The new pickups that came in this, which are the Coastline 65 pickups, I definitely like them quite a bit better than the V mods. And shockingly, this one that I've got here in hand is just about 8 pounds even, which is pretty rare to find in modern produced Jaguars. I do not know if that comes down to the fact that there is no rosewood fretboard. Rosewood is a heavier wood than just maple, and so I don't know if it's that or anything else in here. I haven't yet cracked this thing open to see what's going on, so definitely look forward to the full unboxing and review that I do of this that's going to be coming out in early 2026. And the one final thing that I gotta say that I love about this, even more than the original one, I mean, the toggle switches, whatever, I could live with that, or the original 4-way blade switch that they had. It's kind of annoying to me that they got rid of the series position on this guitar, but I am super glad that they brought back the strangle or bass cut switch here in place of where they originally had the out of phase switch. I like out of phase a lot. You definitely would be able to mod this to have both, like the Mar a Jaguar. You could have one of them be a bass cut and one of them be an out of phase. But yeah, if I had to choose only one, I definitely would be going with the bass cut because I feel like that is quintessential Jaguar tone. But yeah, this is my favorite modern style offset. All right, we are gonna move on now to hardware, and we're gonna start off with my favorite new rocking offset bridge, and that has got to go to my friends over at Offset Guitars UK. The offset bridge that they produce is now quite literally on like 4 or 5 of my guitars. It's on 2 of my bass 6s, 1 of my Mustangs, and I just recently built this custom 65 style Jaguar for my wife, and it features their 7¼ inch nickel plated offset bridge. Unlike a lot of Mustang bridges out there, this one does feature brass saddles. I freaking love that. It gives you a nice warm musical tone that is more kind of harmonically complex, I feel like, and that's a welcome thing, especially for a Jaguar where the pickups can be pretty bright. I also love the fact that they've got these little dust caps here that kind of look like the welded on, I don't know what those were, grommets or whatever they had on the actual 60s style Mustang bridges. I've gone on and on about all of the things that I love about the Offset Guitars UK's offset bridge. I actually have a review on it on my channel as well, so check out the link down in the description. But yeah, as far as rocking offset bridges go, it's got all of the qualities of some of my favorite bridges of all time. Things like what the Stay Trem has, for example, where the screw here, it actually mounts not just from the back, but also is held in place in the front of of the bridge, which keeps it from rattling loose, and just keeps everything nice and sturdy. And it's got a 52.5 millimeter string spacing, which is ever so slightly wider than some of the 52 millimeter options that are out there. It comes pre-Loctited from the factory, and that's really nice to see. Its legs are narrow enough to be able to fit even in some of the Ventera and Ventera 2 models, which have those stupidly small and narrow offset bridge thimbles. Yeah, there's just so much to love about this bridge, and the fact that it is one of the more affordable premium bridge options out there. I believe these are roughly about 120 or 130 bucks shipped from the UK here in the United States. So yeah, hands down, my favorite new rocking bridge goes to the Offset bridge by Offset Guitars UK. And as far as rocking bridges go, I feel like the Bensonite bridge also deserves an honorable mention in this category. It follows a lot of the same principles with regards to just simplicity overall. There isn't a lot of moving parts here. It's got a nice solid block of brass, and all of those saddles are very tight fitting, no lateral movement, and the newly designed V2 version solves some of the issues that were present with the first iteration of this model. I also really love the fact that you can lock the bridge height adjustment screws through this little hole on the back here, and the fact that this also has bridge posts or bridge legs that are narrow enough to fit in virtually every offset bridge thimble that exists. So yeah, shouts to Kendall and Bensonite for making such a fantastic offset bridge option. Now, having offset bridges rock as they were originally intended by Mr. Leo Fender himself is my personal preference when it comes to most of my guitars. I do appreciate the qualities that are brought to the table by a good stationary or fixed offset bridge, and my favorite fixed non-rocking offset bridge has got to go to the folks over at Bell Rock, who make the Bell Rock bridge. I know with regards to aesthetics that this is definitely a bit different from what I typically go for. Usually like ones that are more classic looking, more of that original Jazzmaster or vintage Mustang bridge kind of design. And this one here definitely does not look like that. This reminds me a lot more of like the Compton compensated bridges that they make for Gretsch guitars. In case you didn't know, I'm a huge fan of Gretsch guitars, and I'm definitely basically the only other kind of niche guitar that I've gotten way into over the years outside of offset guitars. But yeah, I really love this bridge mostly for its simplicity. My personal opinion when it comes to bridges is that the less moving parts they have, the better. And this literally, the only thing that moves on this is the two saddles that are here, which are already kind of configured to intonate basically perfectly. And these things move almost like pinball like flappers or whatever. And then you lock them down, and that's basically it. You basically just tilt them until you've got the intonation that you need, and that's it. These are fixed. They come with their own, or you can purchase them with their own proprietary thimbles, which ensure a perfect fit. And yeah, I just love this. This also comes with a rosewood veneer that you can place under, which kind of warms up and changes the tone. But the fact that this is one of the only, if not the only, offset bridge that is made out of pure cold rolled steel also results in a really, really vibrant kind of tone to it. Again, I have to mention Mark B because I feel like he is the Jedi of offset bridges. He's got like a super in-depth breakdown of this bridge. I hopefully very soon after 2026 will be filming my full review of this bridge. But yeah, as far as the stationary or fixed offset bridges go, I've got to hand it to the Bell Rock bridge. So the next category on my list is my favorite budget-friendly offset pickups, and I've had the distinct pleasure recently of getting a number of samples from Adam over at Tone Hatch Pickups, and boy, oh boy, I mean, I say it in my full review. I recently did a shootout of all of his various Mustang pickups, and this one, which is his 2.5 Union Mustang pickups, these are a combination of Alnico 2 magnets for the treble strings and Alnico 5 magnets for the bass strings. And these are just something really, really special. They still nail that vintage Mustang tone, but they've got something a little bit extra. The fact that they're using the Alnico 2 magnets for the treble strings gives them that nice kind of woody warmth that you can expect from Alnico 2 pickups, while also kind of taming some of the more ice picky high end that you can get from Alnico 5 pickups. But meanwhile, the Alnico 5 magnets on the bass strings keep a nice tight low end. So the end result is just really fantastic, kind of clear, but also vintage vibe kind of tone. These are premium through and through. They are using actual, fiberboard bobbins that have been lacquered. They are wax potted like very nicely. They come with these like premium kind of rubber like pickup height adjustment thingies. And they come with like waxed cloth covered Gavit wire, and these are like, seriously, I am shocked. If we take a look here at Tone Hatch's website, his Mustang pickups, believe it or not, are only $69.95, which is insane. As far as premium, and these are hand wound here in the United States. These are not outsourced from from a country overseas or anything. They're handmade here in the United States, and all of these, I had, I tried out the vintage class, Alnico 2, Alnico 5 pickups of his, and I also got in the box waiting for me his Bass 6 pickups and all of his various Jazzmaster pickups, which you can see are also just about as affordable, $79.95. I think that's one thing I feel like that is a side effect of capitalism, is that if you see that something is cheap, you think, or at least I thought, I didn't even pay them kind of any mind, because I just assumed that maybe these are kind of cheap import pickups. But I was very, very pleasantly surprised by these pickups, and I'm very, very excited to try out more of them. Definitely look out for the Mustang pickup shootout, where I compare how much of an improvement the various pickup models that Tone Hatch produces are than the already pretty decent stock classic vibe 60s Mustang pickups. So yeah, definitely look out for that review. It's coming very, very soon in 2026. And yeah, do not sleep on these, my friends, especially if you've got a build where you are on a budget and want to make sure to stay within that budget. These are friggin' amazing. So naturally, the next category is going to be my favorite premium offset pickups. And if you are familiar with my YouTube channel here, or all of my posts and videos on socials, like on Instagram, I feel like it is a toss-up between EP Customs pickups and Curtis Novak's pickups, because these have been my two go-tos pretty much neck and neck over the years. EP Customs I only became aware of probably over the past 2 years or so, but they quickly became my favorite Jazzmaster and Jaguar pickups. They use heavy formvar wire as well as plain enamel, so you can choose your flavor. They're super awesome when it comes to communication, and they just make really, really fantastic pickups. They are the closest, I feel like, that I have found to my favorite pickups of all time, which were the ones that were made by Peter Leonard, aka the Pickup Wizard out in Canada. But yeah, whenever I am doing a custom build, EP Customs is one of the first folks that I will reach out to if I have something specific in mind, and they have a number of different options on their website. And yeah, and also as compared to a lot of the other premium pickup makers out there, they also are relatively affordable. Unfortunately, because of just, you know, the craziness of the economy, prices have had to go up by a little bit, so their pricing is a bit more competitive with some of the other the premium winders in the offset pickup space. But that said, the sound of these pickups, I've used these pickups in a number of client builds and mods. A number of Johnny Marr Jaguar owners, for example, that have brought me their guitars, and you know, those bare knuckle pickups are supposed to be one of the main features and selling points of those guitars. But when I swapped them out for the EP Custom heavy formvar wire Alnico 2 pickups, people were just friggin' floored by the sound. They just have way more character than any off-the-shelf pickups. And the same can be said, of course, about the legend himself. I feel like I don't even really need to plug Curtis, because he has become synonymous with offset pickups over the many years that he has been making them. But yeah, if you are going for like vintage accurate, you know, reproductions, particularly the historic series that he has been producing, they're not cheap, but boy, oh boy, I mean, it is hard to get closer to the actual vintage sound that you will get from actual 50s and 60s, you know, Jazzmasters and Jaguars. Curtis just friggin' always nails it. Now, I feel like there are a few people on planet Earth who are bigger celluloid or vintage style tortoiseshell pickguard aficionados than myself. I have gone absolutely off the deep end over the past, you know, however many years now, decade plus, that I've been doing this. And so, of course, I have to have a favorite premium tortoiseshell pickguard category for this list. And I have got to say, I've used a number of Paul's pickguards now over the past few years, but this one that he made, that is on my wife's burgundy mist metallic custom Jazzmaster that I built for her 15 years ago, this one here from Lava Guards UK is just frigging amazing. I mean, take a look at that. It really, really nails that vintage tortoiseshell look. It's got the wide bevel. This one here I had ordered with no relicking at all, but it just really nails that kind of lava-y, fiery, pepperoni like goodness that you can come to expect from a good actual vintage style guard. For comparison's sake, you can take a look at this one here, which is an actual 1965 tortoiseshell pickguard by Fender, and you take a look at Paul's, and it is neck and neck with regards to nailing that look. The little yellowish kind of fireballs that it's got in there without going overboard. And that is something I definitely appreciate. And unlike some folks in the premium Tort space, Paul at Lava Guards UK has always been so awesome and courteous and responsive and never ghosts you. And he's also got a fairly simple and manageable business model where when he has guards available, he puts them up for sale. So in that, maybe it's a little, you know, harder to kind of attain a bunch of the pick guards that I've gotten from Lava Guards UK. I did buy secondhand, but when I needed one, you know, Paul got back to me right away, and it took a little while, but it was definitely worth the wait for a bespoke, custom-made premium tortoiseshell guard. One additional thing that I did want to mention about Paul from Lava Pickguard's Torts is the fact that these are also, unlike some of the other options out there that are now, you know, over $300 when all is said and done, I believe Paul's were more affordable, maybe even being under 200 bucks for this kind of quality, which is amazing. So he doesn't have any guards for sale right now, and I know that Paul was in the process of like moving shops and stuff like that. So definitely keep a lookout both on his website as well as, you know, aftermarket platforms like, you know, Reverb, eBay, the gear page, offsetguitars.com, etc., because yeah, these pick guards by Lava Guards is hard to beat. I've also definitely got to give an honorable mention to our friends over at Pickford Guards here, because yeah, these pick guards that Pickford Guards makes, and especially again for the price, right? Pickford Guards charges 95 British pounds, which comes to about $128, which is insane because yeah, if we just look at his gallery, he sent me one of his Kevin Shields, like late 60s inspired pick guards, and man, John over at Pickford Guards just makes really nice pick guards, and he is the only one that has been making these kind of like he makes replicas of actual famous Tort guards, which is yeah, that's not a selling point that I've seen on any of the other Tort makers guards, like the Sky Stang, for example, is one of his most famous ones that he makes. So yeah, shout outs to John at Pickford Guards for making awesome and affordable premium Tort pick guards. All right, the next category on our list is going to be my favorite aftermarket offset bodies. And to be honest with you, I've been through virtually all of them, and I have found no better than Tone Bomb out of Canada. Tone Bomb guitars, they make the most accurate 1-1 replicas of all of the Fender offset bodies that I've been able to find. Their Jazzmaster bodies and their Jaguar bodies, which I have used many times for custom builds, personal builds, commissioned builds. I find that as far as the contours and the overall shape, again, I have not been able to distinguish any real difference between the shape, the belly cut, the forearm contours, any of that stuff when it comes to Tone Bomb. It's a perfect fit for American spec like pick guards and parts. Another huge advantage with the Tone Bomb bodies versus virtually all of the other aftermarket bodies out there is you are not going to need to do any additional routing when it comes to the vibrato route. That is one of the biggest pain points for me when I'm doing custom builds from some of the most well-known shops out there. For some reason, their CNCs or however way they produce their bodies, the vibrato routes, for whatever reason, especially on the Jaguar and Jazzmaster, are always, unfortunately, too small. Even if you align it, even if you have a template and align, the screw holes, the mounting holes for the vibrato with the back of the cavity, you'll find that a lot of those are just sometimes as much as 2+ millimeters too short to accommodate like an American vintage reissue vibrato. And that is super annoying because then you need to break out a Dremel or a router. Additionally, on top of that, you can also get these in a lighter weight, so 4 pounds or less, which is really nice. And one small caveat that I do have to share is if you go with one of their rough tone bodies, which is what is available like off the shelf from them on their eBay and Reverb stores, you are going to have to do some finish sanding, which isn't really that hard if you have experience doing that. But if you are bringing it to a reputable finisher anyway, they should be able to do that finish sanding for you without too much of an upcharge. So yeah, for those reasons, Tone Bomb is my favorite aftermarket offset body maker. And before we move on to the next category, here is just a very quick look at the Tone Bomb body used on an actual project. This was an ocean turquoise metallic light relic project that I had done with my friends down at Star Guitars. This was a commission build using a genuine Fender 60th anniversary Jaguar neck with the blocks and binding, kind of like a late 60s style. And as you can see here, it's virtually identical to the genuine Fender bodies that these guitars came with. All right, so the next category that I've got, naturally, if I'm doing bodies, is my favorite aftermarket offset neck, and that has definitely got to go to our friends over at All Parts. Now, it's a little known secret, or maybe a widely known secret, depending on who you talk to or if you spend a lot of time in online forums and stuff. But All Parts, which is a Japanese company, shares production with Fender Japan. And you've already heard me give glowing praise for the fit and finish and overall quality control and fretwork of the guitars and necks featured on Fender Japan's guitars. And that extends to All Parts. I have just found they are really, really consistent necks. The fretwork on them is almost always immaculate and spot on. And they are pretty consistent overall with regards to the specs that they have on paper. And so, for example, here we've got their Jaguar neck. I really love this Jaguar neck in particular because it's got that kind of mid-60s, slightly thicker kind of C profile to it. It also has the vintage accurate 1 5/8 nut width, as well as vintage size frets. It has the correct headstock shape. It has fit perfectly in pretty much every single build, whether that is doing a build from scratch or whether you are maybe upgrading, a Squier. So I really, really love this neck. This comes with no finish, but they do actually offer ones that already have a finish. And one of my all-time favorite necks that I had gotten from All Parts was their roasted flame maple Jazzmaster neck with blocks and binding. You can see from the photo here that it had the correct size blocks. It was virtually identical to the Fender Japan necks that had the blocks and binding from the late 90s or 2000s and onwards. Just a wonderful feeling neck overall, and the quality of the nitro finish that came on this neck was amazing. And that is definitely more than I can say for some of the other well-known neck makers out there. Some who have been my go-to, but have unfortunately suffered from like quality control issues over the past couple of years. I'm not going to name any names, but if you know, you know. And I just, again, appreciate the fact that I know that if I am getting a neck from All Parts that is going to consistently be good, the rosewood is going to consistently be dark, the fretwork is going to consistently be fairly spot on and need minimal leveling and fret dressing, if anything. And if you do not have the skills or the equipment or even the facility to do nitro finishes of your own, I highly suggest that you check out Aurora Custom Shop on eBay. They also go by, I believe, 1950s finishes on Reverb, but they do some amazing nitro finish all parts necks for not very much more than what you can buy a raw all parts neck for. $236. They've got a coupon code going right now, making them only $216. These are finished with a nice satin nitro finish, which you can polish up to be more glossy if you want to. They come also either in new old stock form or relic, and the beauty is that they come with a pre-shaped, pre-slotted tusk or new bone nut pre-installed on them, and all of the fret dressing work and all of that stuff is done before it ships out to you. Just be sure to obviously use the neck shortly after getting it, because I did have an experience in the recent past where it sat for maybe, a month or more. And obviously it's starting to get colder, drier here in New York City. So it did start to exhibit a bit of fret sprout, but usually that has not been the case whenever I order one of Aurora Custom Shop's necks and put it on a build right away. So yeah, for those reasons, the all parts necks and their supreme and consistent quality are why they are my favorite aftermarket offset necks. Now, you've heard me talk about these before, and you've definitely seen them in my videos, but the next category is my favorite offset guitar strings. And if you're looking for handmade, true round core strings that are made specifically for offset guitars, you will not find better than those made by the Gabriel Tenorio String Company. I cannot sing the praises of these strings enough. Yes, they are a bit more expensive than the typical, D'Addario XL strings that I usually use. These come for usually about $21 a set. They come in a trem twist, pure nickel format, as well as their famous and iconic Artist Series strings, which have the silk wraps at the end, kind of like flat wound, but they're not flat wound. Those are meant to kind of tame some of the unwanted noises that are happening behind the bridge. And they also make it so that I don't have to solder the ball ends of the treble strings like I usually do on other string sets. And you can see that the winds for both the silk wrapped ones as well as just the pure nickel ones are extra long, because they were designed and made with the Fender vibratos in mind. Now, aside from feeling and sounding fantastic, and also being just like robust and rugged strings, another thing that I really love about the Gabriel Tenorio String Company strings is the fact that I seem to be able to go through the stretching process and also the tuning process when I'm first installing strings so much quicker with these strings. And these strings for me tend to stay in tune just a whole lot better. Like with other, cheaper strings, it might take a couple of passes for me to properly stretch those strings. I'd say maybe 1 or 2 passes at most with the Gabriel Tenorio strings. And I really love that about them. And again, if you are, struggling with some of the ghost notes or the sympathetic vibrations behind the bridge, and that's not your favorite thing, you don't like that quality about Fender offset guitars or Squier offsets or custom builds, then yeah, these Artist Series silk wrap strings are the ticket and help to tame some of that unwanted noise down. And we are about to wrap up on our list here. The second to last category, of course, is going to be my favorite place to buy brand new offsets. And of course, I've got to mention our friends over at Zounds. Zounds, if you didn't know already, recently invited me to their Creator Partner Program. So a lot of the guitars that I've featured and reviewed over the past couple of months, since basically the fall, have been on loan to me by Zounds, because anything that I want to review, they will send me free of charge for me to borrow and review. And then after I'm done, I just send it back, which is awesome because then I'm also not hoarding like every guitar that I review for you all. They give me a lot of freedom in that way, and I really appreciate them too. So shouts to Zounds, and in particular my buddy Billy over there, who handles all of the requests that I send over to them. Aside from that, I have been a customer of Zounds for 10 plus years, have bought many dozens and dozens of guitars and items from them. And what I love most about Zounds is they make the whole installment payment process completely painless, unlike some of the other retailers out there who do use predatory lenders, especially if you end up being late or missing a payment. Those lenders, unfortunately, can make your interest rates skyrocket, sometimes to more than 30%, which is ridiculous. And Zounds doesn't do that. They have easy 6 and 12-month installment plans, always absolutely interest-free, no background check, no credit check, no lengthy application process, and just basically make it easy for you to be able to get the gear that you need now without breaking the bank all at once, and be able to easily afford them over time. And on top of that, Zounds routinely has in stock all of the newest offset models that are out there. And so, yeah, they definitely are my go-to. And if you're lucky, sometimes they even have open box items that are in excellent or as new condition, and knock off hundreds more dollars off of those, which you can also still do installment plans on, if I remember correctly. So yeah, thanks again to the folks at Zounds. They are my top choice for where to get brand new offsets. And closing out this list, of course, I've got to do some shameless self-promotion here, but the category is favorite offset apparel. And if you haven't been paying attention to this episode or others that I filmed in the recent past, my favorite offset apparel is obviously the Totally Wired Guitars offset tees. You can get them at totallywiredguitars.etsy.com. I've got all of the heavy hitters from the offset world: the Jaguar, the Jazzmaster, the Mustang, and also the Bass 6. And I've got some new shirt designs coming in 2026. They come in super premium quality, soft feeling cotton shirts. And they come in basically every color you could possibly want. So if you like what I do here and you want to support the channel, definitely go and grab yourself one of the Totally Wired Guitars offset tees. 2025 is about to be a wrap. I am just, despite the fact that this has been an intense year for a lot of folks in many, many ways, I just wanted to be able to kind of kick off the new year and reflect back on this year, which for me personally was one that I have a lot to be thankful for. I'm thankful, first of all, to all of you. We basically just hit over 7,000 subscribers, which is kind of crazy. I didn't think that that was something that was going to happen in year one of launching, the Totally Wired Guitars YouTube channel. I really, really appreciate you all, and this channel would be nothing without you. And on top of that, folks who have sent me their guitars despite not living in New York City, folks who have entrusted me with their mods and their setups and their custom builds. It really makes this line of work so fruitful and inspiring to continue to be a part of and do. And overall, I'm just really grateful with all of the new friends and connections that I've made through our common love of offset guitars, and that includes not only fellow content creators, but of course, all of you, all of the folks that engage with me here on YouTube, over on Instagram, folks that tune in when I go live, and also during the premieres that I do for the video releases on here. Just being able to kind of nerd out together has definitely been a silver lining and a very, very positive force in my own life for this past year. So to all of you, thank you again so very much. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope all of you have a happy, healthy, and prosperous new year. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be notified of new videos as soon as they drop. And don't forget to follow Totally Wired Guitars for more offset guitars buying tips. Happy New Year, everybody.